Everyone, welcome to the webinar today. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be discussing specifically about Salesforce Knowledge and point solutions, and if there are issues within these portals and applications that are being built. If it is indeed imploding, why that the case is, and what the solution approach is and the core elements to delivering success in this area. Andrew Douglas, I'm the Regional Sales Director of Ingeniux Corporation. We're also going to be joined by John Baker, who's a Marketing Content Manager at easyDITA, and Nathan Egan, who's the VP of Product Development at Ingeniux. We're going to go through this just to position everything, who our companies are, very quickly. And we're going to go into a demo that's going to actually show a use case of this and the solution that one can get when you utilize this approach. After that, we're also going to have a Q&A session where we'll open you up. You'll see some of the flexibilities that we've got in the approach that we're taking. So it'll be really good to know from the audience what your specific pain points are, so that we can address those and show some examples of how we've overcome those scenarios. We've certainly got a very broad level of deployments and a broad level of the ways in which this approach is being applied for success. So firstly, that's a big statement, you know, your Salesforce knowledge is imploding. So if there are difficulties, then why are the problems with these? And I think further, why are these things not going to go away if they're appearing? Well, the core problem with Salesforce knowledge and other point solutions, they're very quick to deploy, and they're pre-built and they're pre-baked. They're very straightforward, and obviously if you're using Salesforce, then Salesforce Knowledge is an extension of that CRM system. So it's very attractive as the initial movement into delivering these types of solutions. The problem is when you try to extend it into a slightly more complex or very complex metaphor. And we've faced scenarios where we've been either replacing Salesforce Knowledge or other applications, or we've been evaluated against them. Really, the way in which we actually win those deals and start working with these customers is because they've identified a core problem within their portals, which is not just about technologies and feature sets. It's actually about how their content is held and how third-party content has to get mixed, and etc. So the core problems within Salesforce Knowledge and these other point solutions, the real basis of this comes down to that it's not based on an intelligent content model. And by intelligent, I mean that it's dynamically flexible, the content relationship with the metadata, being able to mix metadata sets. It doesn't take very long before these types of things become very complex and very difficult to manage. The second area that's really crucial is this difficulty in bringing in third-party content. It's very rare now where you just have one content set that's delivering that support knowledge or product information or training information that's more complex content within your overall messaging. And if you're not bringing in that third-party content and you can't align it, then it becomes very hard for users to navigate, because the users don't know where that content is, and they shouldn't need to. The very worst scenarios one can see is where you have multiple logins to try and locate the information. As a customer, this is very, very painful, and also it hurts brands in terms of their delivery of their overall, not only support, but the messaging and the overall benefits that they bring to the customer. And that really comes onto the poor customer experience. A lot of the time design is fixed and it looks very separate as Salesforce Knowledge and these other point solutions. It looks very separate from the main marketing and the main flow. And the key is to enabling this in a very fluid and way in which it's matched up to your brand, if that's an important factor. And that's not possible, certainly in most of the deployments that we've seen, because design is largely fixed in these types of applications. One of the other issues is search. It's often limited in these third-party applications. To actually deliver faceted and federated search, one has to go and deploy expensive third-party solutions. And that's a difficulty both in terms of cost and in deploying this. And within this solution, this is pre-baked into the solution set, and really it's running the search over the top of this intelligent content model that delivers us these capabilities. The final thing is extending that model is very difficult. No doubt that's why many organizations are here today. They've deployed Salesforce Knowledge or a point solution, and there's something that you're doing that's causing you issues, and this problem isn't going away. So what are the core requirements for today's support portals? They've really become not things that are standalone. Increasingly, we're bringing in a lot of different types of content to the support metaphor. And one of the keys of this is getting that content structured and intelligent as much as possible, especially the more complex content. And there's real intelligence required in the authoring process. And this authoring process is increasingly getting more and more authors involved throughout the organization. So the more intelligence we can put into that, and that's what we're going to show you today with easyDITA, and why us as an organization that publishes this content as Ingeniux, why we're so keen on easyDITA, because once you have that intelligence, we can really deliver incredible capability in the personalization end and the ease of accessing this content, which is the key to this whole area. The other area to look at is when we're looking at outputting this content, we might want to do it to multiple places. And that flexibility might include pushing it into third-party applications. This is called content as a service. And this is becoming increasingly important because it's not just in one single area where we're deploying that content. We've talked about search there, but also complementary functionality such as enterprise-level granular workflows, taxonomy management, multilingual capabilities. As that metaphor is extended out, that functionality needs to be there to support the way in which this content is being created and published. And really, the overall message is standalone is for certain organizations, but in many enterprise applications, it's actually becoming the fact of unifying this content, which is where the problem is becoming. And why? Because overall, this approach will overcome an ugly portal where information is difficult for clients to locate, the situation that's not happening. And if you get this right, it can really result in millions of dollars in cost savings. And these are very real savings that our clients have seen. And the ultimate fact of this is smart people want to self-serve. They don't want to contact your organization. That's not only a cost benefit, but it's also a way in which you can improve the overall customer experience. So having said that, what are you going to see today? Well, there's two core parts. There's easyDITA, which is essentially a component content management system that allows for this intelligence to be put in. The reason why we feel easyDITA is so powerful as Ingeniux, as the publishers of this content, it's a very modern system, a really nice user interface that's simple to use for authors, allows for that wider context, and it allows you to get that intelligence in so that we can reuse it in the publishing process. In Ingeniux, we really deliver right from turnkey document solutions, right the way through to custom enterprise, which are very, very large portals. Again, this is not dependent on us and the way in which we position the product. It's more the challenge that the organization faces. We allow this multi-format output that we're showing here in the diagram, a wider use case of the way in which this content can be deployed if that's a requirement in the future. And the flexibility of not being boxed into a solution is really key as you start to expand this metaphor of what support is required throughout the organization. For the next generation of support portal, which we're going to show you use cases today and the application of this, but really you take these two elements and this combined power will overcome not only today's challenges, but also future challenges. So we've already connected these systems, we're delivering these to clients, they're taking advantage of this overall metaphor that we provide. It's unrivaled in terms of price performance for this level of intelligence and deployment. On the end of the publishing, we've got a turnkey solution. It's completely fixed cost. It's an existing library. It really allows for not only the application of that very advanced search and some of those capabilities within a fixed cost and a fixed schedule. It goes right up to custom portals. We work with a lot of clients on these where it's very bespoke use case. And oftentimes we're coming to a scenario where the metaphor of the pain has already been built out. It's a custom solution because of the nature of the content we're dealing with and the challenge that we're dealing with. The reality is that the problem is getting more complex. We've got these silos within the organization. Increasingly, we're needing to mix this content together and to deliver it. And today's applications aren't supporting that. It is achievable. Yes, there are steps in this. The key of investing in this is that it delivers a significant competitive advantage and cost savings that are very real. And it's proven the model that our clients are not only taking now, but they've also extended over multiple years. We'll take this and we'll show this in action. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hand it over to John. John's going to begin with the content creation process and see how that occurs. And then following that, we're going to show that content going from the authoring system into the publishing system and what the results are of that the overall solutions.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everybody. My name is John Baker, and I'm the Marketing Content Manager over here at easyDITA. Now, Andrew gave us a great perspective on how, from start to finish, it's not just about how your content appears on the front end. So much of it is about how it is created on the back end. How do you construct this content? What kind of mentality has to go in? As Andrew mentioned, having intelligence about content creation. Well, another way when we talk about intelligent content creation, we're talking about structured content. Now, this is one of the fundamental differences between a lot of the knowledge bases that are imploding and a well-constructed portal or some other method for displaying your knowledge and showing it off and really getting the most value and opportunity to leverage that knowledge. So when we talk about structured content, we're talking about this content that is created within an XML framework. And the importance of this is that it needs to be an XML framework that's standardized and something that can be used in as many different opportunities or ways as possible. Now we here at easyDITA, we use DITA, obviously, for that XML framework. And the reason for that is that DITA is developed specifically for publishing output. It is ideally situated for consistency and sustainability, and it gives your content creators the tools necessary to create these component topic-based chunks of knowledge that can be reused and leveraged in so many powerful ways. And one of the best examples of that is what Ingeniux is able to do with easyDITA content. Now, this all goes back to the importance of divorcing the content creation from the content deployment. And the reason we talk about this in terms of divorcing it is because so often when teams create this content, they do it within a specific system for a specific output. And it might work great for that specific instance, but it really limits your ability to grow and scale. Now, the terrific thing about this interaction between Ingeniux and easyDITA is that you create content that can be reused. You create these topics that you can string together in different maps and deploy in different places, and you can reuse it, and then you can selectively deploy it to Ingeniux, as Nathan will be showing us in a little bit. So enough about that. Let's create some content. So I'm just going to show you how simple it can be with easyDITA to create this content that can then be rendered through a system like Ingeniux. So we'll go over to the authoring system. And as you can see here, we already have this map created with a couple of topics that are included on it. Now, creating a new map or a new topic is really simple. You simply click up here at Create New, and you can choose if there's a map type. We have a couple of ones of templates that are already set up for that. We're just going to start with creating a topic. So you can choose from a concept, database, there's lots of different options here. Task, learning plan, reference, things of that nature. We're just going to start really simple with this default one. And let's call it test number 1. Keep it nice and simple. We'll create that. And so we'll see here, we've created it. Let's open it up. Close this. And so adding to this content, once you have this topic created, adding is really simple. So for instance, right here, just with the short description, we'll say test topic demonstrating easyDITA capabilities. And I apologize in advance. I'm pretty terrible at typing and speaking at the same time. So if I go into a silence while I'm typing, please forgive me, doing the best I can at multitasking here. So you can add the short description. You can add some content directly into the paragraph. And it's really that simple. Now for different editors, you have, I want to bring your attention up here to the different modes. So you can do the drop down, you can select if you want to be in editing mode. There's also suggesting and commenting mode. And those both can be assigned for your SMEs or your subject matter experts, giving them the opportunity to be able to jump in, add comments or suggestions. Now, I'll just show you these suggestions. These come in the form of tracked changes. And these are changes that will not be added to the content until they've actually been approved by someone who is an editor. So you can have your product experts jump in, add their suggestions, just like in a Google Docs systems, they can add their suggestions. And then you can have your writers go in and make sure that all of these suggestions abide by whatever your guidelines or your standards are. So they have a controlled workflow. And this is all because we wanted to make sure that easyDITA really maximized and capitalized on everyone's specialty. So you'll have a lot of individuals who have a lot of knowledge, but they have a lot of knowledge about the product, but they don't necessarily have the time to learn a whole new system. easyDITA is terrific for giving them the opportunity to add their changes, add their insight, add their expertise in a really simple way. It's really intuitive. It doesn't take a lot of training to get up to speed on how to use easyDITA. Okay. Now you notice here that we've created this topic, but despite it being in this folder, in the subfolder in the library, and we're in the content folder right now, despite it being shown here, in the doc view, you can see that it's not included in the map. So adding a topic to this map is really easy. You actually just move it over, drag, and insert. And there you go. Adding to your map is really just as simple as that. Now we're going to jump back into the map view here. And I just want to bring your attention to a few other features that we have that are just designed to make it as easy as possible to create content that's optimized for your organization. You see here, like I was talking about, we have things like the review tab, where if there are comments and track changes, they be included in this panel over on the side. There's also attributes. So when you're adding maybe conditionalized content, you select a section. You can say maybe step 1 is for internal audience types. Step 2 for customer. Those two set up that way, but this really just shows you the functionality. You can get really granular for these different audience types. And this is the beauty of authoring in a DITA system and working with a system like Ingeniux that can take your content, if it's developed intelligently, and deploy it in so many different manners for different audience types, with different types of personalization, whether that be for different regions or whatever it might be. One more thing I want to bring your attention to is some people often will see this WYSIWYG editor and be in denial that we're even dealing with DITA. So sometimes during a demo, I'll actually have to open up the side-by-side editor and show them that this is the code on the back end. It's DITA really in its stripped down open standard form. And you can even make changes in the side-by-side editor. So we'll just grab right here, say, so I'll just make that quick change. And then you'll see over here, if I click save, it'll appear just like that. And if I save and close, that change will stick. This really just opens up the doors for people of every level of DITA familiarity to be able to jump in and contribute. So some authors, they actually prefer to see what's under the hood, what's in the back end, and create content that way. Others prefer just to stick to the WYSIWYG editor. So within easyDITA, and I know we've talked about it a little bit up to this point, but you really have that ability and functionality to have multiple authors or SMEs working within your system at the same time. I'm actually going to ask Nathan if you jump into this topic while we're working.
Sure.
All right, so Nathan is in here as well, and we can both add content at the same time. And this really just opens the door to having full company-wide collaboration. You can have different people in different roles, all able to contribute to the same document without document locking. So now that we have this piece all put together, I'll get rid of some of this unnecessary information. But now that we have everything put together, we're ready to publish. So we'll go up here, And then you see here, we already have this publishing engine set up for Ingeniux. Select that. And there we go. So now at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Nathan, who's going to show us what you see on the other side of things once Ingeniux has this content.
Thanks, John. So the easyDITA API integration has taken the DITA package that John just published and imported that into the application. You can see that import action happening here. Inside of our system, that content has been brought in and generated in the structure that the DITA map defines. So we have our documentation contents. So the individual DITA tasks are here, pulled through and placed into the look and feel of the Ingeniux support site where we're managing that structured content and delivering it in the scope of a larger website with other features like software downloads, premium support, ticketing integrations, all those sorts of capabilities. Through the CMS, you can view and apply categories to content. You can see and control properties for that content, such as when it should be deployed into the portal or the URLs that would be associated for that resource on the site, where that content is used, security controls for that content. And then for content you've published in the past, you'd also have performance data from your analytics sources within the Ingeniux portal platform, so you can get a view for traffic and visits on the content itself. When you're ready to deploy new content or content updates from easyDITA to your Ingeniux-based site, you can then just deploy and publish individual pieces of content. So we support incremental deployment, packaged deployment of a section of content, or deploying an entire site refresh like a traditional publish from something like DITA Open Toolkit would do. So I can come in here, I can publish, deploy that content out, and we'll see those same resources here. So we'll submit that publish, give it just a second, and from a live website standpoint, that same resource is going to be updated and deployed within the overall portal, and then combined with all the other things that we have available in that portal experience, like the ability to connect to other Salesforce things beyond Salesforce Knowledge, or to submit tickets or view open tickets that you may have within the current CRM that you're connected to. So you can combine the online documentation for the content coming from easyDITA with all the other things that you may need in your support portal, like software downloads or software license keys or other supporting packages and resources.
All right. Well, thank you, Nathan, for sharing that. At this time, we're going to open it up for any questions. If anyone has anything they would like to ask, please feel free to type that into the question box on the right hand or on your GoToMeeting system. So while we're waiting, there are a couple of questions that already came in. One is about whether or not Andrew and Nathan, whoever wants to take this, do you have any specific numbers related to savings with the implementation of this type of system?
Yeah, it's a great question. So for people that are combining their technical content in DITA format with an overall portal that offers online ticket submission and live chat, we had one customer who was able to reduce their incident of phone-related support inquiries by about 85% in the course of a one-year rollout.
Wow, that's terrific. So typically at the scale of the way these systems work, when you are talking about support costs, and that's both for internal and external as well. I know some of our customers, the amount of time spent on the phones, it's not just for customers asking questions, it's also questions going on between departments. Do you see that very often where people have questions that normally would be for their own team, but instead they're able to find them through the portal?
There is definitely, a role-based experience within the portal, so you can have a combination of sort of internal, potentially like partner and collaborator areas, and then public-facing areas, and you can move content between those different kind of access controls. So indirectly, something that maybe started as an internal KB solution might become a public-facing one, or vice versa, where that public-facing content is also used by employees for problem solving of their own issues.
How granular do those typically get? Or how specific do you get for internal purposes, or what kind of capabilities are there?
With the single sign-on integrations that use SAML that we recommend, you can identify individual users, their group membership or role data to the individual person, giving them access to a specific set of products, certain teams, resources. So you have a lot of control there.
Mm-hmm. So it's really how specific as you need it to be.
Yeah, I would say so.
Andrew, did you have something to add to that?
Not really. I think, the whole way in which this personalization will be driven by a lot of organizations will really be if they've got that data already or if it's matched up to their program. It can also be about a new marketing initiative. So one thing that's happening in the past 12 months in the marketplace is the way in which organizations are launching some of these complex products, and they're having to mix technical information with that marketing initiative. And so they're not only having to look at the user base and the data that they're pulling in from the user base and the granularity of that, but also how they've actually tagged up their content and increasingly adding granularity to the content as well, because of where it's going to be placed for outreach activities rather than serving up the existing client. So and have two parts where it really needs to be addressed. Again, it depends on the organization, it depends on the challenge, and it depends on the nature of the content that they're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that at least within easyDITA, a lot of times it's easy to think in terms of content being split up into clean lines or clean boxes of this goes for marketing, this is technical documentation, whatever it might be. But that's not really how this plays out a lot of times. For a lot of people, that tech doc is a really important part of the customer journey of that buying decision. And so, making sure that your content is flexible and you're able to use it in all those different situations is really important.
Exactly.
So we have another question relating to the amount of time. So how long does it take to get the system up to speed or to get your content into the system? I know obviously there's a ton of variables that go into it. Maybe you can talk about like a highly customized use case as opposed to something like what we demonstrated, which is more of a out-of-the-box turnkey system.
Sure. Yeah. So there is a basic support site that has technical content and a CRM connector for Salesforce. And at a basic level, to do documentation, ticketing, user profile, authentication, you're looking at around 5 to maybe 10 or 15 days, depending on how kind of branded and stylized you want to modify that basic template. If you're doing a highly customized portal, maybe one that manages, software distribution or entitlement management or key management, much more of a delivery platform than just a knowledge resource. Maybe you're integrating with multiple different tools beyond your CRM, your ERP system, commerce platforms. Those can range from 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, depending on the level of integration that either is out of the box or would be new or custom connections to internal systems at an organization.
Mm-hmm. All right, one more, and this one is just, they're asking if this has been done before between easyDITA and Ingeniux.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
To quite a significant degree. Yeah, I mean, at the straightforward level, there's the turnkey tech doc sites, which are pretty straightforward, both in terms of the authoring and the delivery, and are usually based on replacing an existing as the topic is today, an existing point solution. Those are pretty straightforward, but we have a very, very powerful use case of this at the highest end. So millions of assets, mixing multiple data sets, a global engineering support portal for a multi-billion-dollar company. For two companies that don't have those relative brands, we really are hitting above our weight. So there's not only that message that this is incredibly powerful and extensible, but also that ranging from a replacement solution where you can really test out that this is functionality that's going to, at a very cost-effective and quick deployment level, that this is functionality that's going to be right for your organization, right the way through to really we haven't seen this level. We've shown the variety of what we're doing to some really large organizations that are delivering technical documentation, and they've literally stated they've never seen anything like the capabilities that we're delivering phase one for this enterprise client. So not only is the connector built out, but it's also there are granularities within that connector that allow us to do some really nice things because of the purity of and the native format of DITA that we're importing from easyDITA, and also because we're retaining that intelligence. So once you have that foundation, really, it depends on where you want to take the content, but there's no limitations, and that's really where where our solution takes place, and also why this combination of products is so powerful, because it's proven out in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting to see the way of content, both the creation and the display, how it's been evolving, and just by leaps and bounds, things that people didn't even think were possible before.
Exactly.
All right, well, that's all the questions that we have here. I want to thank everyone who was able to attend today, and let them know that if they have any questions, definitely get in touch with us. Andrew, Nathan, is there anything else you guys would like to add?
No, thank you for hosting.
Mm-hmm.
It was my pleasure. All right, well, thank you, everyone. You should be receiving an email shortly that will include a little bit of follow-up, maybe some additional resources, and a link to a replay of the webinar. And again, if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out. So thank you, everyone, for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.